Baltimore Police Department is arguably the most corrupt in the United States. If you are elected governor, would you turn over control of the Baltimore Police Department back to the city of Baltimore? Why or why not?
The first answer for this question is for Krish Vignarajah.
It's a great question, and this is why we have rolled out a community policing plan. Because in many ways, our law enforcement in Baltimore doesn't look like, live with, or engage with the community. It is why we want to make sure that we address the fact that only 40% of the police are African American, only 20% are women, only 20% live within the city limits. We believe that we can revolutionize the law enforcement officers by making sure that they do live with, look like, and engage with, through also incentivizing their engagement through mentoring programs, through engaging them with Girls and Boys Clubs,
Thanks, Ms.
because that's how we get a better result.
Mr. Jaffe.
First of all, we have morally bankrupt politicians in city government who have appointed incompetent police commissioners. I came up with a proposal to bring on Mr. William Bratton, former police commissioner of New York City and Los Angeles, California, whose credentials are impeccable. We need a police commissioner who has the experience in law enforcement, but also someone that can be trusted. That's what we need.
Mr. Baker, on policing in Baltimore.
Yes, I would turn the local control back to Baltimore City. We have it in Prince George's County. They have it in Montgomery County. And that way you get the local impact on making sure the officers live and look like the people they police. But we also need the state to engage with them, which is what I would do, partner with them. Also having the Attorney General's office, Brian Foster's office, work with them. But we need to have that connection with the city and determining its own destiny. And so I'd work with them as governor.
Mr. Shea.
The question correctly has a premise that this Baltimore City Police Department is a state agency. Many people don't know that, and that makes Governor Hogan's hands-off at best approach laughable. Certainly we should return the control to the city. Baltimore City is the only city in the state, I think it's one of the very few in the country, that doesn't have local control. And we should also have citizen oversight. There are three problems that we've got in Baltimore City, and I'll have to come back to them when I have a rebuttal.
In the 30 seconds. Thanks, Mr. Shea. Let's send it now to Mr. Ross.
Yes, absolutely. Baltimore should have local control. And I hope that when we do, instead of doing so much police recruitment from southern Pennsylvania, I hope they'll do recruitment at my son's high school. It's more than 80% African American, and all of the students there know what it's like to walk the streets, not as somebody from an occupying army, but as a community member. I think the people who understand, who've lived on these streets, who, like me, have lived in Baltimore City for a quarter century, we don't view conflict like between an army and an occupied area. Let's bring
Mr.
return
Ross.
back to Baltimore.
Now to Mr. Jealous.
Yes, of course, we must return control to the city. We also have to make sure that we're recruiting more officers from the city. That's why I have a plan on my website for an apprenticeship program coming right out of our high schools into our force. Inspired by my grandfather, who spent 30 years as a juvenile probation officer in Baltimore, lived in West Baltimore, raised his daughter in the McCullough Homes housing projects, and always served with courage because he served his community.
Thank you, Mr. Jealous. Ms. Irvin.
Yes, I think that the corruption is so deep and far-reaching in the Baltimore Police Department that nobody in the city trusts the police. So I think we should scrub the whole police department and have police officers be rehired based on certain criteria. And I believe that it should be returned back to local control.
Senator Madaleno.
So let's be clear to the voters and the viewers what we're talking about. The Baltimore City Police Department is an agency of state government. It is controlled by the mayor and the city government. It just so happens the governing laws for it exist in state law. All you'd be doing is just changing where the statute exists. That's not going to do anything for anybody. What you need is a governor who's going to invest in the city, be a partner with the city in delivering the services, in supporting the police department, in supporting prevention programs, violence prevention programs.
Thank you, Senator.
Getting your sleeves rolled up and fighting to stop crime in the city.
Mr. Jones, on policing in Baltimore.
I agree. There has been corruption in Baltimore City Police Department, but I believe that they've gotten rid of most of the corruption. We have good police officers working in Baltimore City, and they work hard to protect the people. The problem is that you go to some roll calls, you have 7 police officers to cover a district. So it's difficult. And what we need to do is we need to establish a relationship with the police department and bring our community in so that the relationship with the police department and the community falls into a place where there's a better understanding.
Thank you. That was the final answer on policing in Baltimore.